Welcome on back, everyone. This is just another day in the life of a military wife, and once again, we are on the road. Thanks to the wonderful holidays, we are coming at you from a brand new location, and I thought, considering this season, we would discuss a research study that was done by the University of Pennsylvania about gratitude and how it blesses our lives. So, we're going to break down those results and just have a little bit of fun discussing being thankful and how it can help us. So, I am your host, Sam Wolf, and you're listening to Life of a Military Wife. So, let's break this down. This research study was done by the University of Pennsylvania. It's a study in positive psychology and its progress. It was done by Martin E.P. Selman and Tracy A. Steen from the University of Pennsylvania, as well as Nanasuk Park from the University of Rhode Island and Christopher Peterson from the University of Michigan. And it was covering and discussing lasting happiness and basically how to measure happiness and depression. And so they broke all of the different participants of this research study into several groups. And the placebo group, and now if you've got some background with research studies, you always want a placebo group or basically a control group, a group that is not being treated, and it's best if they don't know they're not being treated. That way you have a baseline to see what normal would look like. And then you can base your comparisons off of that normal, control, or placebo group. The people who think they're being treated but aren't being treated. And then the people who are actually being treated, so that you can see the differences and get a better perspective on, what happens. So before they started with this, they took a general test on like happiness and different things like that. And then they were taught a technique, and they were supposed to use that technique throughout the week and a certain period of time. And they were given these assessments intermittently to assess their happiness and levels of depression. And then at the end, they were given another one. And then they actually followed up with some of these groups later on, and they found that there were some that continued to receive benefits from these way into the, as time went on. But anyway, the placebo group or control group was early memories, and the participants were asked to write about their early memories every night for 1 week. And really, that was to make them think that they were doing something, but really they weren't doing anything that would directly impact the study. However, the other groups were given additional tasks based on what they were trying to assess. So the first group was the gratitude visit group. Participants were given 1 week to write and then deliver a letter of gratitude in person to someone who had been especially kind to them but had not ever been properly thanked before. The next group was the 3 good things in life. Participants were asked to write down 3 good things that went well each day and their causes every single night for a week. In addition, they were asked to provide casual explanations for each good thing. The next group was You at Your Best. Participants were asked to write about a time when they were at their best and then to reflect on that personal strength that it displayed in the story. And then they were told to review their stories once every day for a week and reflect on the strengths that they had identified. The next group was using your signature strengths in a new way. So the participants were asked to take a survey of that in like it was an inventory of character strengths online, and I'm going to include the link because I ended up taking it and I found it really actually a lot of fun. I learned a lot about myself, and there's some things that I wasn't surprised about. But anyway, then, once they received their individual feedback, they were to use their top 5 strengths, and they were asked to use them in like a new way every day for a week. And then identifying signature strengths. So this exercise was a trend, like, yeah, it was basically they were given the instructions to use their signature strengths in a new way. Participants were asked to take the survey to note their 5 strengths and then to use them more often during the next week. But it was a little less specific. It wasn't, use them in a new way. It was more of like just use them. Now that you know you have them, make sure you use them. So it's interesting, but the 2 groups that saw the best results were the 3 good things and using the signature strengths. So, like using them in a new way. Groups, they saw the biggest increase in happiness, and then they saw the biggest decrease and most consistent decrease in depression. And I thought that was pretty interesting because one of those things, they also went on to explain that these were persistent. It wasn't just you saw up and down or whatever, or it went away. These 2 techniques persisted over time, and they found that they didn't tell people to do it, but the people in these groups just kept kind of going back to them. And I think because in some ways they're kind of easy, especially the 3 things, the writing down 3 things you're thankful for and really thinking about them. That's a pretty simple concept that is something most people are not completely unfamiliar with. And so that allowed them to just go back to it whenever they were having a hard time. And they did see lasting effects with that. So I really thought that was interesting and kind of exciting, to be completely honest. So because of that, I thought it would be interesting to go and take my own survey of character strengths and find out what my top 5 were. And I'll share my top 5 with you, and then I'm going to share the other ones, or at least some of the other ones that I thought were interesting, but not in any particular order. Just because everyone's going to have different strengths, and that's fine. Like, the important thing is using your strengths, not comparing them to other people. So, what my strengths are may not be your strengths, and that is okay. Just roll with it. So, what I had was my top 1 was spiritual sense of purpose and faith. And that's not too shocking for me. I'm a rather religious person. My faith is important to me. So in that one, it says you have a strong, coherent beliefs about the higher purpose and meaning of the universe. You know where you fit into this larger scheme. Your beliefs shape your actions and are a source of comfort to you. And that really does fit me very strongly. The next one is also not surprising if you knew the family I grew up in. Education and learning are super important. And it says love of learning. You love learning new things, whether in a class or on your own. You have always loved school, reading, museums, anywhere and everywhere there is an opportunity to learn. And my husband will totally attest to this. I love museums. My kids have spent so much time in museums. In fact, I realized we've spent more time in museums than amusement parks. To me, a museum is amusing. Anyway, I love museums. And I've talked about my rabbit hole of documentaries and all of that. I find it fascinating to learn new things. So My third one was kindness and generosity. You are kind and generous to others. You are never too busy to do a favor. You enjoy doing good deeds for others, even if you don't know them very well. And I'd like to think I'm that kind of a person. I really do want to help people. That is part of the reason why I started this podcast. I wanted to be able to get information out that could help people, and I genuinely hope it is. So, the fifth one was judgment, critical thinking, and open-mindedness. Thinking things through and examining them from all sides are important aspects of who you are. You do not jump to conclusions, and you rely only on solid evidence to make decisions. You are able to change your mind. And that really goes back into the whole education thing. My mom really taught us to just think things through and try to begin with the end in mind, and to seek to understand but seek to be understood, to just really view things from different angles. I may not always agree with others, but I want to understand them. I think that's important. And so, yeah, I really felt like that one did fit me. So, if I was part of this research study, what I would then do is take those 5 traits and I would try to use them in a new way. And so I've been trying to think of different new ways to use those ones. If you have any ideas, please put them in the comments. I'm gonna put the link for the survey and everything in the description below, so you can also take the survey yourself. But I think it's interesting to see what different people get. You do have to register for the study and give them some basic information on yourself, just because it is a research study that you're going to be participating in if you take the survey. That said, I think I'm just going to list off for, your amusement and general information, the other different ones. And there's a lot. So I'm not going to read the descriptions for all of them. And again, they're not going to be in any particular order. I mixed them up just so that you would know. Basically, I really didn't want you guys to know what was on the bottom 5 of my list. Yeah. Anyway, just because I have strengths, it means I also have weaknesses. So there's things, no one's perfect at everything. So there's things I can improve on. But I really wanted to share all of the different ones with you because I thought they were fascinating. So some of the other potential strengths people could have was creativity, ingenuity, and originality. And then hope, optimism, future-mindedness, modesty, and humility. Those are 3 different ones again. So creativity, I'm not uncreative, but I think I have a lower. I don't view myself as creative. Hope, optimism, and future-mindedness. I think that comes and goes with me. I think sometimes I'm an optimist, and sometimes, as my husband puts it, I'm a realist. Modesty and humility. I mean, we can't be perfect at everything, right? The next one is, and again, these are not in any particular order: forgiveness, mercy. I really do try to forgive people, but I'm honest with myself about that. I really do try to forgive people, but I believe that forgiveness takes time. True forgiveness is work. And so, because I view it as work, I think it's something that I'm still working on being better at. I think it's something you could always be better at. Humor and playfulness. I think there's a time and place for it. I definitely am a playful person, but there's a time and a place for it. Perspective and wisdom. That one I think is self-explanatory. And then social intelligence, which I have to some extent, but I feel like, again, I know people who are much better at it than I am, which you shouldn't compare yourself. I know that. Gratitude, which was interesting that that's on there, since that's what most of the study ended up being about. And then fairness, equity, and justice. That was actually pretty high for me, but again, um, it I think there's always things people can work on. So that one's pretty self-explanatory. Again, industry diligence and perseverance. Again, those that was kind of middle of the ground. Like I'm good at it, but I'm not perfect at it. Self-control and self-regulation. Those are very important to me, but I think I view that as a work in progress. I don't feel like most people would think they have that perfectly under control. Maybe some people do, but I feel like that's something people can always work on. Bravery and valor. Whew. Well, I'm going to admit I'm afraid of heights. I'm not as brave as I'd like to be, but I'm working on that. Capacity to love and be loved. That one was on my higher end, and I really do. I want people to be happy. I genuinely do. Leadership, zest and enthusiasm and energy. I feel like I'm getting that back. There was times, especially as a young mom with 3 little babies, that I did not feel like I had all the zest and enthusiasm and energy I would like. So I feel like I'm getting that one back. Appreciation for beauty and excellence. That one is super important to me. That's part of also my whole museumness. I love art museums. I love nature. Just, I really feel like I got that from my mom, because my mom, those were things she really valued. Curiosity and interest in the world. I find that interesting that the curiosity and interest in the world was separate from the love of learning, because to me those go hand in hand, but that's me. Caution, prudence, and discretion. I'm grateful that that was high, because I feel like I would be a lot more worried about myself if that wasn't high on my on the upper portion of my list. And then honesty, authenticity, and genuineness. That was also something I scored pretty high in, because I really feel like honesty is huge to me. I don't like it when people are dishonest with me. So anyway, those were some of the different ones that they had, and I really found it particularly fascinating that there was just so many different aspects that people could be good at that could play into helping them feel more positive, have higher levels of happiness and stuff in their life. And I think that that's important to understand what you're good at and be using those strengths. So that said, some of the benefits that the research study identified was improved physical health, improved sleep, improved psychological health, increase in empathy, reductions in aggression, more social connection, enhancement of self-esteem, and improved mental strength. And honestly, I don't know anyone who could live without those. Like those seem like pretty good benefits in my opinion. Those are all things I would definitely like more of in my life. So just then overall, I really loved digging into this research study, and I'm really just skimming over the top of it. So if you got time and you're interested in reading research studies, I'm going to link the description, link it in the description so you can find it. But to me, I think one of the things I loved most about my degree program was learning more about how we as human beings function, what makes us tick. And there's always things to be learned. The social sciences are constantly learning new things about how our brains work and how we work. We're just very complicated, complex beings, and I find it fascinating. So, with that said, it's just with Thanksgiving and everything going down, I thought it would be fun to look at gratitude, and especially considering the research findings that just focusing on 3 positive things that you're grateful, 3 good things every day really does make a huge difference in our lives. And it's so simple. Even if you don't have time to maybe write it down, maybe just to take a quiet moment and think it through before you go to bed. What could it hurt? Anyway, that's what I'm going to be working on, is being more grateful. And there's a lot I feel like I have to be grateful for. My 3 things for today is being able to actually spend time as a whole family, visiting family. So many times we've done family vacations and my husband's not been able to come because that's military life. And so I'm grateful for that today. I am grateful for the opportunity to run into old friends. Being back in my hometown, I had the opportunity to spend time and talk to briefly, at least, with 4 different friends from when I was growing up. And 2 were planned and 2 were unplanned, and I really am grateful for that. And then the third thing I am grateful for today is for my amazing mother, who worked so hard to help me find who I was and loved me through my crazy teenage years. Well, not as crazy as I guess. I guess everyone's crazy. Teenage years are just crazy in general because I think you are just trying to figure out everything. And I don't know. Anyway, I'm just grateful for her love and support. So that is my 3 things for today. And I challenge you to, just for a week at least, maybe write down 3 things that you're grateful for and why each day, or maybe go and take that strengths survey. Find out what your top 5 is. Find out new ways to use them. So, that said, I am your host, Sam Wolf, and this is Life of a Military Wife.